From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Free at last! Free at last! Thanks almighty!
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
And welcome to Alan Autry, No Retreat. I'm old Alan Autry, so honored and humbled as always to have you with us today. Coming to you from the Manchester Center in the beautiful city of Fresno, California, right next to another beautiful city, Clovis, California, right next to a whole bunch of little beautiful towns from Selma to San Joaquin, located all of us in the geographical center of the People's Republic of China-fornia. So so honored to have. Well, why do I say that? Well, guys, goodness, that's who we are. We're not California anymore. We're more China-fornia than California. I mean, you've got, they've got the movie industry. They've got all the major studios, headed by John Cena, who, by the way, that guy can apologize better. He can snobble and jerk snot better than anybody I'd ever seen. Yeah, that same John Cena that comes across as the big, bad, tough guy in WWE. If you've not seen his YouTube apology to Xi Jinping, it is worth more than anything you've ever paid for one of his movies. It is a classic example of how to lose all of your pride, all your dignity, to really sell freaking out like, I mean, there's no up in it. They say Joe DiMaggio's streak, a 56 game hitting streak, may never be broken. It may never. Tough thing. Especially nowadays. Well, his groveling apology, we may never see its like. Although I think LeBron put in the same situation may give him a run for his money. You got LeBron James here, probably one of the most popular athletes on the planet, if not the most popular. I know there's some soccer stars out there that are pretty popular that most of us in America haven't heard of, but around the world, dadgum, they're big. But LeBron here, he's the one that called out David Murray for simply saying that he supported freedom. He supported the people of Hong Kong wanting to hang on to their freedoms they've had. And by saying that he was roundly attacked by LeBron James and saying LeBron's probably one of the least well-read people. I'm not calling him dumb. He's probably a very smart guy, probably smarter than me. But as Thomas Sowell said, it doesn't matter how smart you are if you don't stop and think. And to say that David Murray should do his homework before this is his words exactly. David Murray needs to educate himself about the issue. Well, David Murray did. He educated himself about the atrocities of the Communist Chinese Party, their long history of squashing dissent in a very ruthless way. It goes back decades, and all of the lack of personal rights that everyone in China has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, including the letting COVID loose on all of us, then denying it, trying to blame it on the American military. But they're your guys. Why? Because there's over 1 billion people there, 1.4 billion, I think, although the population's going down, and that's a problem for them, is you see a lot of sneakers, a lot of LeBron sneakers over there, the Chinese people wearing, and so we get you where you're coming from. Then you have Silicon Valley, which all the CEOs, from John Donahoe from Nike, the Coca-Cola folks, all those folks that based out of Silicon Valley, they're firmly in the corner of China. Whatever China does, It's like the old song from Damn Yankees, whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Well, whatever China wants, China gets from Silicon Valley. The one holdout's the Central Valley. We don't bow down. They're trying to make us bow. But suddenly the farmers have a little bit more leverage because guess what? We got a food supply problem. Now, it's one thing to send your oil overseas and outsource it to people in countries that don't like you. But when you send your food supply, which we have done at a rapid pace for the last 3-4 decades, here in San Joaquin Valley, we have some of the most fertile farmland in the world. We produce 2/3 of America's fruits and vegetables, beef, milk, you bet. Well, let me tell you, the People's Republic of China-fornia, the government here just can't put farmers out of business fast enough. We've been trying to get water here just to keep going what we have, to feed. Somebody referred to San Joaquin Valley as the hands that feed the world. And I think that's very appropriate. And we have a situation in Ukraine because Ukraine are also the hands that feed the world. And we see what happens when those hands get tied by a war out of nowhere. And these politicians were warned as they kept outsourcing, putting farms under and not responding to the water issue here in the state of California. There's a thing called Temperance Flat. It was a proposal to build a dam, which would have solved a lot of the problem. Not solved it, but greatly mitigated the water issue here. And because of politics, it still hasn't happened. I guess the pain is going to have to get so bad. The lack of food on the tables are going to have to reach those who otherwise would not have to deal with it. And you let a crisis go long enough, no matter where you live, no matter how much money you have, that essential existential, and a food supply is an existential crisis, eventually ends up in your house. And unfortunately, we have a lot of politicians in this state that will not make common sense decisions on water, education, standing up to China until that crisis is at their doorstep or at their dinner table. And did you know that 92%, folks, of our antibiotics come from China? That was a startling statistic. I got to ask this. What people, what government in their right mind would give the production of literally life-saving medicines that probably there's not a family or and probably not an individual that has not had at one time or another taken antibiotics or an attack on their system that if it didn't have those antibiotics available would have gotten seriously more ill and possibly died. Yet you somehow see the logic, the prudence of giving the production of that to another country. That's something you want to produce here. If you can produce it here, you need to produce it within your own borders. It's that important. Water, existential to life. Food, existential to life. Antibiotics, existential to life. And yet, let's outsource it. Why? Because of cheap labor. And then you double down on that and say, okay, we're going to outsource this, but at least let's give it to a country that's on our side. Let's send, hey, England, you want to produce our antibiotics for us? France, Australia, Western Europe, but again, I don't know if we really have allies in there like in the old days. And that's a whole show that we're going to talk about because we've got to kind of earned that lack of respect. This whole thing about where America goes, so goes the world is not true anymore at all. But you know what I mean? It's this, Romans 8:28 says, what man meant for evil. No, that's not Romans 8:28. Yeah, I'll find out the scripture number and verse. But what it says is what man meant for evil, God meant for good. I think Joseph said that. If his brothers threw him into the pit to die there, but he came along, some travelers came along, took him out of there, took him to Egypt. He wound up saving a lot of lives in Egypt because of his intellect and his leadership. And when he had a chance to really bring the hammer down on his brothers, he said, hey, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. So maybe all this thing going on, supply chain, the war, that will wake up and realize we have to start manufacturing. our essential products, we have to bring them back within these borders. You know, back in the day, you would hear about it all the time in the major cities, New York City, Detroit, Baltimore, L.A., wherever you went. There was families that talked about the experience and the hard work of working in the factory. It was where if you dropped out of school or something happened, you could always, if you were willing to work hard and come to work on time and just follow a few rules and work hard, there was usually a job at the factory making things. Tough life, most factories. There'd be a car plant or making furniture or clothes, whatever. But back in the early 90s, the decision was made during the Clinton administration. I'm not blaming Bill Clinton totally for this because Republicans, believe me, were way on board on this. Chambers of commerce across the country, you bear as much responsibility as Clinton on this. So don't go haywire and start pointing fingers. You, the folks that were providing jobs, the chambers of commerce around this country with Clinton and that administration to create something called NAFTA, which Ross Perot warned us about, that great sucking sound. If you outsource these jobs, these manufacturing jobs to third world countries, and at that time they were talking about Mexico, but what happened is China became the major country to take on all of those jobs that were outsourced. And I'll never forget it. It became the political catchphrase. And everybody was just nodding their heads when it was said. It was uttered everywhere. In America, we did nothing. Even those who said that is probably the most dangerous words we have ever heard. And what were those words? These jobs are leaving the country and they're never coming back. That's what they said. All over the country. Get used to it, America. There's no more jobs to get your hands dirty. Those are going. Manufacturing of machinery, manufacturing of furniture, clothing, whatever, antibiotics, anything that requires a manufacturing, and you might get your hands dirty in it. Those are going to Mexico, South America, China. China was not talked about much back then, but China saw an opportunity to come in, swoop up that manufacturing, and become probably the richest country in the world now, and really controlling the world economically. You say, oh, how can you say? Well, I hate saying it, but the truth will set you free, but first it'll make you miserable. We have simply made the biggest mistake back in that early 90s that a country could make. You know, Japan did that. They import everything, but we're not Japan. We have the capability in this country to produce anything and everything. We're sitting on, to be energy independent is the goal of every country around the world. You know, Russia's energy independent, but they don't have a system that allows them to really leverage that into opportunities for education, quality of life, a diversity of jobs available there, and make things. And we have just made the biggest mistake back in the early 90s. Now it's the so what, now what? I've heard murmurings, and hopefully these murmurings will turn into a movement with some sustainability in it, with some political courage in it, because Americans are ready to bring those jobs back. Because what we've done is we've made this economy, of which over 50% of our people, folks, live below the poverty line. This gap between the haves and the have-nots cannot continue. And I'm talking about the have-nots. If you're working in a factory, you're a have. You don't have everything you want, but you got a chance to move up from that factory, especially with the educational opportunities we have. You can go online, work in that factory, go to school a little bit, get that degree, and you can take a little bit more step to the haves. You have some, but you want a little more. Because it boils down, there's the have and the have that I have but want a little more. You know, they're not the haves, but they have very little, but they want a little more. And then there are have-nots. And the have-nots are those that through education, addiction, whatever, they're almost unemployable. Why? Because there's no jobs available. If you can't come up with the next generation of computer, there's no place for you to work just about in America. It's rapidly disappearing. Yet the service industry out there, that people need plumbers, electricians, that's absolutely true. But there hasn't been an effort to raise that up as a desirable job for our youth. Mike Rowe does a good job with it, the guy from Dirty Jobs fame, of giving those kind of jobs the glory that they deserve. But we've dug ourselves, folks, a big, big hole. But I still believe in America. I believe we have the wherewithal, the courage, the enlightenment to realize we made a big, big mistake and demand that we correct it. And the only way we're going to do that is elect people that have the courage and the backbone to stand up to China and bring bills forward and bring policies forward that'll bring those manufacturing jobs back. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I got to make an apology. I told you, when I say or do something and it's clear to me that I've made a mistake, I just don't want to be one of those guys. I won't be one of those guys that just kind of, I just won't say anything and they'll forget about it. And when we come back, I will make that apology. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat, 1550 KXEX, best talk in town.
Look at them yo-yos, that's the way you do it. You play the guitar on MTV.
Hey, Jeremy, is there any way we can turn these TVs on? Oh, just in case we have some breaking news that we missed there.
We also have a call.
Oh, Tom Brady over the grocery. He's going to go. Fox Sports, they're going to land Brady. Okay, we got to come. That's breaking. We got to bring it. Okay. Oh, surprise. Defense Intelligence Chief, war in Ukraine, a stalemate. You know what's going to go after that from stalemate to, well, it looks like Russia has inched ahead in this war. Surprise, surprise. If you listen to this show, it's no surprise. That gum, how many people have to die, folks, before they realize you got to get to the negotiation table. Got to end this madness. I got newsflash. Ukraine is not a nuclear country. It has limited resources. The West cannot provide them the troops or the air cover. Russia has the second biggest military in the world. They live on wars of attrition. How does that work out? Where's the miracle? It's just not going to happen. You're just going to see more and more carnage and people needlessly losing their lives. Dadgummit, I hate that. And you got to bear with me. I saw Vietnam, almost went to Vietnam. Had lost friends in Vietnam. And I'm telling you, this war is unfolding exactly like Vietnam. And those who say America will never send troops there, let me tell you, you get in so deep. Never underestimate the ego of politicians. And they get a thing where, hey, we're in so deep now, what do we do? And you wind up being there 10, 20 years like Afghanistan, then run with your tail tucked between your legs. That's what happens. Happened to Vietnam that way, happened to Afghanistan that way. It's going to happen to Ukraine that way if we don't do it different. That's just my opinion. What this is? It's found in here. This is a little radio. That's all it is. Nothing else. I have not seen one of these in so long. Just a little AM. I don't even know. AM, FM radio. And I don't know. I asked Jose who's it belongs to. He says, it's the station down here. Kind of neat. Takes me back. Take me home, country road.
30 seconds?
30 seconds, man. Nothing like live radio. A lot of people don't do it live anymore. You got to be ready. If you're not ready, live happens anyway. Oh, Laura, I see you're calling in. I'll get to you in just a second. Got to do my mea culpa.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
Man, that's a good song. Made by the band. Miss that kind of music. Oh, man. I'm waiting for some of the youngsters to do that song like as a rap song. Be a tough one to do. They do it. It's called a cover. And then they got these things called, what is it? A mix? Guillermo's told me what they call it. There's a type of music called Spanglish, where they get the English and Spanish songs. Jeremy's just laughing his butt off. Well, I don't know. I'm an old 69-year-old fart behind this microphone. I'm trying to lighten myself. He gave me the okay. I tell you, we got a great team there. Jose, Jeremy there. They just pulling off some stuff, amazing stuff here. And we're gonna show a PowerPoint. Doesn't that make you want to just stay tuned into this show? Nothing more exciting than a PowerPoint. But I promise you, this one is worth watching and absorbing. Difficult to watch. You might want to put your fist through a wall after watching it. But okay, here's my apology. Yesterday, I had probably a little bit too much fun with the situation in Alabama with the deputy sheriff who conspired with the inmate, Vicky White, with Casey White, no relation, a 6'9". I don't know if he's a convicted murderer, but he's in jail for that, facing trial, history of violence. And somewhere along the line, they got cozy. She fell for him. And love just makes you do some really unpredictable things, because we've heard some folks, I saw the sheriff of which she served under, talking about her, and they said all the deputies love her, and they know she did a wrong thing and a bad thing, but they still love her and there for the family and all that. And I should have taken that in consideration. I had, again, we got to laugh. There's so much bad stuff going on. We got to laugh through the tears. And okay, we make a little joke about the guy being 6'9" and trying to hide in this video world. Look forward to a 6'9" guy and a blonde girl. I'm probably going to get caught very quickly. And they did. I think they stayed free longer than I thought they would. And I kind of tip my hat to their ingenuity in that regard. But the fact of the matter is, there was a chase yesterday in the car, and the car rolled over. And Vicky, apparently, here's from first reports, is that she committed suicide. She put a gun to her head and shot herself. Casey White was extracted from the vehicle and is going to survive his injuries. But, Vicky White has a family that's mourning her. She has a sheriff's department that's mourning her passing. And yesterday, I knew deep inside that, this could end bad. But that wasn't really the guiding thing. I think I just made a few too many jokes about it, with it being out there, because this guy, Casey White, murdered someone, it looks like. Again, I think he's up for charges of that. I don't want to convict him, but I think prior to that, he had a history of convictions of violent behavior. And those families probably didn't think what I was saying was very funny. And I apologize to the family. I apologize to Vicky's family, to the sheriff's department there, and to you all, because again, I'm not one of those stick in the mud guys that you got to laugh. I'm up for comedians doing what they do. They have a right to tell an off-color joke. We may get to that today, one that I didn't find funny, and we have a right to say, I don't think that was funny, and not laugh at it, because there has to be lines in society that if you don't have that, you just don't have chaos. You have moral anarchy, if that makes sense, where anything goes. The Bible says one of the darkest periods in the Bible is when it was quoted by Moses as saying people were doing right what they thought was right in their own eyes, in their own mind. Basically, everybody was making up their own rules. Hey, I can kill this guy because he insulted me. So I think I make up the rules. That's okay. That's morally right in my mind. That's the danger. If we don't have a collective, common sense, what I call a common thread of common sense of what's right and wrong. You just don't survive as a society. You don't survive, in a civil society. You have absolute chaos, but I don't call that having a society. So anyway, my apologies. I'm not saying I won't cross the line again sometime. I try to be more watchful on that because I like to have fun. I like to see, to get a laugh through difficult circumstances. Your family's out there probably going through difficult times. We are at our house with some stuff going on. Everybody always has some tough stuff going on. And we should try to find some way to bring levity, a little laughter to the situation, or it just simply becomes too much to bear. Okay, I got that out of the way, and I'm not saying I got it out of the way like it was frivolous. It was not. It weighed on me all like yesterday. I knew I shouldn't have said it, but then when I heard what happened, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. But speaking of crossing the line, we have the abortion issue, like this issue of, a potential, killer, murder being, broken out of jail. I mean, that's bad stuff, and, you have a few jokes in there, I guess, but it turned out really bad, as I said. But there's certain subjects, and one of them, I believe, is abortion. You got to be very careful when you go into that area and say, you know what, I'm going to lighten it up here. I'm going to see how funny we can make abortion. Let's see if the killing of babies if there's the brighter side to that. Well, sometimes there's not. I don't think there's a brighter side to child abuse, spousal abuse, world hunger. Yeah, let's see if we can make some jokes about the starving kids over in Biafra. Okay? See how skinny they are? Let's just make a joke. Certain things, you just don't go there. And to me, the abortion issue and especially if you're for abortion, show a little bit of restraint. And what we've been seeing now is this total unrestrained commentary led by comedians, and they have a right to say it. Bill Maher the other night on the show, and I think Bill Maher's a funny guy. I watch him. I don't agree with him a lot politically. He's a funny guy. To me, he went over the line big time when he had his panel discussion talking about abortion. And he says, I don't really think life is precious. And it stunned even the panel. They had one conservative there, but the others were liberal. Even they kind of veered back a little bit and said, did I hear that correctly? And then Bill said, hey, I know everybody doesn't agree with me on it, but I don't think life's precious until it's on the planet, walking around and has a name. They're not real to me. It's not precious. So you can kill that fetus baby anytime you want to. It's not precious. And I couldn't help but thinking, Bill, you just said life isn't precious. What if on the way home, somebody comes up to your car and sticks a 357 Magnum in your forehead? Would you think your life might be a little precious, or would you say, you know what, I'm not precious, go ahead and pull the trigger? Because, hey, it's nothing. I think you'd probably look at it a little different. But I think he came out and said, unfortunately, what I think a lot of people on the woke far left believe. They just don't think these pregnancies, these babies, are important. They don't think they're precious. Many of them think they're just not a life that's worthy of being protected. And I'm sorry, folks, there's a lot of folks out there. There is. The stats prove it. Now, it's a minority in those that are for abortion, but it's a significant minority who believe that you should be able to abort a baby. The mother should be able to, 8 months, 9 months before it's out, and the umbilical cord is cut. That's still part of that woman's body, and you have a right to take that kid out. That's out there. And that is just a really, I don't even get mad at it. I get righteously angry at the devil for that, because I know that's what's at play there. The Bible says we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Meaning somebody who says something like that, that's not the real problem. He says we wrestle against and fight against the principalities of darkness, powerful principalities of darkness, meaning evil, the devil. And you're saying, well, are you saying that Bill Maher has the devil. Listen, the devil's out attacking all of us. We let our guard down, we can get talked about or talked into just about anything. The most dangerous place you can be is walk around so religiously cocky and arrogant to think you're above temptation. Oh, I'd never do that. Under no circumstances would you see me doing that. I'm above that. No, you're weak, just like I am. And if you don't rely on God and that spiritual strength to keep you from doing some of those things that you say you would never do, rest assured you'd be doing them. And so when I look at Bill Maher, I just think, gosh, I pray for him. I just pray something will happen to him that instead of taking him out, it jolts him enough that he says, this thing called God, I'd like to explore it a little bit more. So he just says that. The Bible promises, seek and ye shall find. It says, if you go out and you seek me, you're not going to be the same. You'll find me if you truly seek me. So that's what when I hear things like that are so horrible, evil, that's where I hope I always go rather than wanting to go. There's a lot of pushback, a lot of anger coming to him. People want to take him, wishing that he would be taken out. And those aren't, to me, you got to look inside. Are you really a true Christian if you're really thinking that? See, that's eye for an eye stuff. There's a thing called the New Testament that changed eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. And that's called grace and forgiveness, something that wasn't there in the Old Testament. And Jesus says, I didn't come to change the law, I come to fulfill the law. It was always in the books in the Old Testament. So anyway, we have it. Hang on, Laura, because I want your take on the antibiotics, but I think you might want to speak out on this as well. I know your feelings on this, and she has just a really passionate story, and someday we'll have her retell it because I think it'll really help some folks understand why people. And I'm not saying Laura's in the camp of this making fun of abortion. She's not. Most women would find this, even pro-choice women, that this was what Bill Maher said is not good. But we had what's this gal's name? She was on MSNBC last night, and she just cracked up the panel with a joke. But she thought it was a joke, but I think there was a lot more truth into it. I had her on my notes here. I know her last name is Kill something, very appropriate. Lori Kilmeade. Anyway, let's run the video of this. They're discussing obviously the abortion issue, and this is what this contributing individual said on MSNBC. And I want you to watch the host's reaction to what this lady says. Go ahead, Jeremy.
So, here's the thing. Here's my feeling about the leaker. I would like to find out who the leaker is so I could make sweet love to that person, because that person is a hero to me. Okay? And if the leaker, a lot of people are saying it could be a conservative. If the leaker is a Republican, and if I get pregnant during our lovemaking, I will joyfully abort our fetus and let them know. I don't know if that answered your question. I probably didn't.
It was a little off topic. It was a little. Go ahead,
okay.
Joe.
Okay. All right. They say you're not supposed to pause on radio. You got to fill the airwaves always with words. Well, every time I watch that, I have to take a moment because that righteous anger that wells up in me sometimes is not too righteous. It's just pure DO, PO'd. And I want to say things that I will regret, because it's not that this lady, Kilman, what's her name, Jeremy? Can you find it? It was on there, but I had it written in my notes, and maybe I'm trying to forget her name. I don't know. Maybe that's subconsciously what I got going here. But the fact that she said that was so off color, so horrible. And what they're talking about, obviously, was the leaker who leaked the report, Samuel Alito's pre-opinion on Roe versus Wade that got leaked, and now the Supreme Court justices are being attacked left and right out in front of our homes. We'll talk more about that at tomorrow's show, or maybe in in a few minutes here, but that's what she was referring to, obviously, and that she would like to make love to that individual because love him so much what he did. I guess she knows who he is. It's not a she. I don't know. But the fact that she made such a horrible joke that she would love to get pregnant by the guy and then abort the baby joyfully. Joyfully, she said, abort the baby. Her name is...
Lori Kilmartin.
Lori Kilmartin. I got to write that down. Lori Kilmartin. You want to buy tickets to that show, don't you? She is just hilarious, isn't she? Golly, when is she going to be playing at the Hollywood Bowl here in LA? We need to get tickets for that one, Jeremy. I'm sure it's going to be sold out down there. Lori Kilmartin. I mean, and the thing is, obviously, it's not just a subject matter. It's not funny. But did you see the host just cracking up, thinking that was the funniest thing in the world? Which, coming on the heels of the Bill Maher comment that I heard Friday night, this was yesterday, I heard this on Monday. Seeing the reaction of MSNBC's hosts, seeing the lack of pushback or criticism coming from the left on these statements, Maher and Kilmartin and the MSNBC hosts, you're left with no deduction. You know, I'm going to say this, and people have said and called people that say what I'm about to say some of the most horrendous things. Far right-wing, wacko, Nazi, white supremacists, whatever. But you heard what was said. And I'm left with no other logical deduction other than these folks not only support abortion, they kind of enjoy it. They, for some twisted reason. You could not in agreement with that comedian. And if it was one host that laughed, I would say, oh, okay, you got one demented dude that thought that was hilariously funny. But you had 3 people, 4 total, 3 others, and they all 3 just laughed chickens. You tell me what you deduct from that. Do you just ignore it like the left would like you to do? Well, I don't pay attention to them. They got a show. MSNBC thought enough of the host to give that individual a show. The show thought enough of Kilmartin to book her on the show. So you're putting those folks out there to say, you know what? This is what we believe. We support this. Anyway, we'll be talking more about that. Certain things, should we be careful where we tread? And let me make no mistake about this. I support Ms. Kilmartin's right to make that joke. And I'm going to say something that's going to tick a lot of people off. I do not support her being canceled. Okay? I don't support MSNBC's host to be fired. That's up to their corporate people. They will determine what they want to stand for, what messages they want to send, and what they think is out of line. Because you know what? I don't have to play that clip. I don't have to go to MSNBC, and I don't very often. I do, just to see what's going on there. They do CNN. But they have a right to say what they want to say, as vile as it is. And I have a right to come on this show and criticize the living daylights out of it. To the point where people are going, okay, Autry, move on. It's tough because this issue means a lot to me. And it's tough for me to move on from just a classless, evil, horrible statement about the unborn that this lady made and what I saw. So that's America. You know, love it or leave it. I choose to love it, even with all of its flaws. And we have to get better on a lot of fronts, from racism to hopefully having some kind of social system and reaching out to people like this. Kilmartin, I'd love to have her in the studio. I wouldn't jump down her throat personally. I would go into deep why she felt that was appropriate, and I'd listen. And see, that's where I get it from both sides. You know, but you know what? That comforts me a little bit. Because, you know, it's searching for the truth and standing by principle, faith, family, and freedom. And be willing to listen to other sides, to treating people with respect, even if they don't treat you with respect. Treating people with respect that don't respect the sanctity of life. You know, two wrongs don't make a right. You don't have to agree with them. But anyway, okay, let's go. I was going to break, but I'm not going to. We're going to go right to Laura Fisher on that. Laura, are you there still? Took a long time getting there. Oh, okay. Took a long time getting there. I'm sorry, dear, because I really want to hear your comments on the antibiotics.
Oh, God. Okay, I have to get myself together. My friend just told me the funniest story I've ever heard in my entire life. Oh, my gosh.
Do you want to tell it?
Okay. He's going to kill me.
Well, you don't have to mention names. Right. You don't have to mention names.
This guy moved in across the street from her, and she's been trying to get his attention for 3 months. So she joined my boot camp in the morning because she wanted to, you know, get herself in shape so that this guy would notice her.
Okay.
So she walks by his house with her dog and all these little cute outfits and everything, and he just waved, but they've never spoken.
Okay.
So yesterday, I can't even, oh my gosh. Yesterday, she's all dressed up. She's walking the dog. The dog goes to the bathroom on his, easement. It's on his property, but it's in the easement. She goes to pick it up, okay? She goes to pick it up. The dog sees a squirrel, tangles the leash around her, and she falls face first into the dog poop.
No.
Okay? Wait, it gets better.
I'm loving this.
When she gets up, he's literally standing right there.
Oh,
and he goes,
my
"Hi,
gosh.
I'm Phil." And she goes, "Hi, I'm Beth, and I normally don't have dog crap on my face." And she grabbed the dog, and she ran home. She goes, "I'm just going to die alone."
Yeah, but here's the deal. Here's the upside of that. Laura, here's the upside. If that guy can get past that, you know you got a guy that's interested. You know, if you meet a guy, like I said, and you fall in dog crap, you look up and you're covered. Oh gosh, we lost her. Oh, that's funny. I've always felt that if you met people, like I always said, if a man and a woman met in the unemployment line and they hit it off, man, you would know, as a man, you'd know that woman's she's interested in you. She finds you interesting. You know, you're in the unemployment line. And I've always been in my head, you know, because we all have a little doubt.
We have her back.
We've got Laura back. Laura, were you laughing?
I'm here.
Were you laughing so hard you dropped the phone?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's funny.
So now she's going to die alone.
No, I have a prediction. That maybe this guy, he's going to go, but he's going to tell that story. I think he'll probably
told it to everybody.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Now this happened yesterday morning, and when I saw her at boot camp this morning, she told me she didn't know why she was even there. He won't even look at her now.
No, really? Oh,
really? No, I mean, it was bad. It was really bad.
You know, I know it's hard to laugh at that, but what a story.
The last time she tried to impress a guy, she set her hair on fire. This woman is destined to be alone. I love her, but she just needs to stay with her dog.
Yeah. You know, I heard the greatest lie one time. It says a guy was talking to a friend of ours, a female, who was kind of similar situation. Thought she was going to die alone. No, the relationships never worked out. She was doing the dating apps, all that stuff. And he says, you know something? He says, if you chased God like you chase a man, God will give you a man you don't have to chase. That always hit home to me. Now I don't know if that works with dog crap on you or not, but anyway,
oh my God,
we wish her all the best. All right, what do you got on the antibiotic outsourcing our antibiotics? How crazy is that?
Okay, well, actually, the 90% is kind of a misnomer. 90% globally.
Okay.
Okay, we, the United States, only actually receive 9% of our antibiotics. 18.2% of the raw materials to make antibiotics, and we only started amping up our production when COVID came along, because the pharmaceutical companies realized this is a serious problem, So they opened up 5 factories up north.
Great.
And they started producing antibiotics.
Fantastic. That's common sense at work. I needed that. Thank you. I did not know that, and that is music to my big old ears. That is that.
Well, I do have some other information that isn't related to China, but it is related to Ukraine and Russia.
Hey, let's go there. What the free for all? Hey, it's Taco Tuesday. Just have a taco in your hand. We can go any place. Go ahead.
There you go. Well, you were talking about Ukraine and Russia. They have had some suspicious bombings in Moldova.
Mm-hmm.
There's a particular area in Moldova that is considered a Russian separatist area. There's been a little bit of fighting back and forth up until about 6 to 8 months before the invasion of Ukraine. There were only about 2,000 Russian-speaking people in this area of Moldova. And then slowly they started to see more people come in. Now they're at about 15,000. So they think that this was deliberate, was deliberate. They were, they're paying people to move there. This has kind of been a separatist region since 1990. They've always had a little bit of turmoil, not as bad as Donbass, but there's always been some turmoil and some problems. So now there's suspicious bombings. The 7 areas where there were these little explosions all match up with maps that I have from the Ministry of Defense, so it's looking as though Moldova is going to be a target. Also, 2 Russian generals have mentioned going into Moldova over the last 48 hours. And this week, Finland and Sweden are going to make an announcement whether or not they're going to join NATO. It's looking as though Finland is definitely going to join NATO, and Sweden, it's likely.
That is not a good move.
That's what I think, but they seem to feel that it's.
Let me ask you this. I don't think people understand this. When somebody a country joins NATO, that means no matter what they do, even if they do things that provoke an attack, if they're attacked by another country, we have to go to their aid, not just with materials, with troops if need be. That's what NATO, and we have over 30 freaking countries. And answer me this, Laura, because I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time. What in the world is Turkey doing in NATO? Turkey is not our ally. They're our ally like Saudi Arabia is our ally. Turkey's going to watch out. Huh? Okay.
I know.
You mean to tell me a country goes after Turkey because Turkey's very surreptitious? They're very behind the scenes. This Erdogan, whatever you want to call him, bless his heart, he's a dictator. And they're in NATO. I tell you, Turkey gets attacked, and you think we're going to send kids here from the Central Valley to go fight and defend Turkey? But we'll be required to do so by NATO. This does not make sense. This is a recipe for a really disastrous outcome, not too far down the future, I feel. What's your thoughts?
This has me gravely concerned because, Russia had troops at Finland's border until recently. So about 3 weeks ago, they had troops on Finland's border, but they pulled them, sent them to Ukraine because they need bodies there. But they started a whole propaganda campaign against Finland, calling them Nazi sympathizers and all this stuff. So that tells me that, we may be at a stalemate right now. There's not going to be any negotiations. There's not going to be any of that. He is literally going to just pummel Ukraine, move on to Moldova, and keep going until he literally just can't go anymore. And the sooner we realize that and accept that, the better off we're going to be. They're talking about Biden wants to give them another $33 billion.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now?
Here's what here's my reasoning why Russia is going to win this eventually. It's all common sense. Number one, they have too much firepower. They are. All you hear is reports of how inept they are. Except then, right on the heels of those reports, they're bombing the crap out of the steel plant. They're bombing the crap out of other regions. Number two, they have nukes. And number three, they will begin attacking those supply lines. They won't do it when they come right out of Poland and the other countries. They'll wait till they're on the ground. They'll figure that out. And they'll blow them to smithereens.
They're doing that.
Exactly. Exactly. And the number 4 on this is the will of the Western countries is not wired to win a long, protracted, grind-out war of attrition. Russia is. When you don't have as much in your society, you're used to living with less. And, all this this belief that Putin's on the verge of a military coup, that they're going to take him out, or the Russian people are going to revolt in the streets. Yeah, exactly. That's false propaganda. That's fake news. That's disinformation. That's just getting people killed.
Understand that every single person that is in his inner circle, every single one of them, believes exactly the same way he does. The Domas, they all believe exactly as he does. The majority of these oligarchs, the only thing they're mad about is that they're getting their yachts taken away. But other than that, their mentality is the same. Yeah. And I just saw there was a gymnast, and she was wearing, I don't know, something in support of Russia, and people were flipping out. It's like, what do you expect?
Yeah.
He's Russian. That would be no different than
how silly is that?
An American athlete was wearing something in support of
exactly.
US troops.
And all of these athletic organizations banning Russian athletes does nothing but increase the resolve behind Putin at home. It just increases his support when you do things like that. And people don't understand, too. I do believe, I'd like you to check this out, where I am when I get home, but I do believe also that Finland at one time, way back in the day, invaded Russia at one time. I may be wrong about that, but if I'm true, that's in their history books.
So Finland got their butts kicked by the Soviet Union in World War II.
Okay, but wait, no, I'm not. I'm going beyond that. What they're taught.
Back further, yeah, it's very plausible.
Yes, I believe that's true. Well, that's emphasized, I'm sure, in the Russian schools. Now, here's what Finland did to us back in the day, not just Germany. They were invaded by France. Napoleon came in there to Russia. I mean, we've never been invaded. Our education system, the most you can get close to that is 9/11. We can't relate to that, of having that in our history, in our historical DNA, if you will.
No, but even if we were on even ground when it comes to that, I just can't vilify Russian people for being patriotic. No. How is that any different than me being patriotic or you being patriotic about your
country? And why does that comment you just made
happening as being wrong? There are a lot of countries that have thought we've done many wrong things.
Exactly, and that
groups and we stood behind those decisions.
And that statement you just made qualifies you in the media that are supporting this war, and the politicians that are supporting this war that are war crazy, as a traitor. You're supporting Putin. That's crazy. You made a very, very good point. And if we don't start thinking like that, our leaders will never get to the negotiation table, and you're going to see the total obliteration of the Ukraine.
When you talk about the negotiation table, I think Putin's beyond that. I don't think he's
I think you will. We'll talk about that.
What are they going to give him?
No, we'll talk. It's an interesting conversation. I have a little different take on that. I think he will. He's going to get more than he wanted when he got there. But I think he understands that there's a time to fold him, take the pot of money you have, and go to the next poker game. Roy Fisher, thank you so much. This is Roy Rogers. When he starts singing, we only have a few seconds left. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. God bless you. God bless your families. And just remember now, just do your best and let God do the rest. That's all you can do, and that's all he expects. Love y'all. Bye-bye now.